welcome back. Now it's 10 minutes past 7 a.m. Good morning. Cold one for that reason and for that matter. It's the month of July, so that was expected. My name is Victor Low. Now, let's talk about what matters today on The Viewpoint, and we'll be discussing the issue to do with our democracy, how we are getting it right, how we are getting it wrong, the steps that we need to take, both the millennial and the Gen Z, so to speak, but collectively as a nation, what are we doing to enhance our democracy? I have my guest already on set, and we'll be having, for the next 1.5 hours, I can assure you that it's going to be a good. You know how we do it here, all right? And yes, so today I want us to talk about embracing change. That is going to be part of our discussion, embracing change, reshaping Kenya's leadership. Since 1963, we've had several governments and several administrations, but now are we getting it right, and where are we as a nation? So let's talk about embracing change and reshaping Kenya's leadership based on what is happening in the country. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the program. Today I must say that there is gender balance. In football we say these are goal. Goal, 2-2. Welcome. I have got Mheshimiwa Wilberforce Oundo representing the great people of Funyula constituency. Mheshimiwa, karibu.
Asante sana.
And Dr. Evelyn Ogendo, who is a political analyst. Karibu sana, Daktari.
Thank you.
And Wilson Sossion is not a stranger in Jerusalem, former NAT Secretary General, nominated Member of Parliament, CAS. No. Let's go with the two. let's go with the two.
Of course, I was sworn in as a CS. It's on record.
You will be greeted. Eh?
Yeah.
No problem. I always welcome greetings.
No problem. Welcome. And yes, I like that. And Gashuhi Agnes Kariuki, who is advocate of the High Court. Karibu sana.
Asante. Thank you for having me.
Okay, so let me start with what we should, and let me start with the front pages of the Daily, and let me start with the Daily Nation. Day of Defiance, that is on the front page of the Daily Nation. Day of Defiance, that is what is here. The picture here tells it all. I don't know whether the camera can zoom it. We have got a battalion of armed officers, and in their, their fatigue, and there is just one gentleman behind them. They say that a picture speaks 1,000 words. So for me, this one does. So why? Okay, this is how it is. So a day of defiance says that it's now a case of a heavy cost of anti-government protesters yesterday ignored President William Ruto's warning and took to the streets in several towns, paralyzing businesses' activities for the 18th time. In central Kenya, pro-government supporters who seemed to have the express backing of the police kept the youthful demonstrators at bay. That is what we have here on the front page. And still on the front page here, I have got questions as Duale, so he plans swap places in new cabinet list. Among them, that is the latest. We have Eden Duale now moving to environment and forestry, and Soipan swapping to defense docket. And we have Rebecca Miano, nominated as AG, but now named not on the list sent to the House. Mheshimiwa, you were in the House yesterday, and welcome back after not finishing your lunch almost a month ago. If you know, you know. Welcome back.
Thank you.
You did not receive the list and of Rebecca Miano, but even as you respond to that, I'll give you a moment to talk us through the front page of the Daily Nation. Day of Defiance. Go ahead.
First of all, thank you for, we are back.
Welcome.
In any case, our young people came to join us for a meal, and they say the meal was not enough, so we left for them to have the meal, while us elders, we could do other things elsewhere. But it was good to have them around, and since it's a parliament, it's a people's assembly, they're free to come there anytime, but with minimal distraction and without endangering anybody's life. Anytime they're most welcome. On the issue of the list that was presented yesterday.
But in a structured manner, disclaimer.
In a structured manner, come, we'll have lunch, we'll engage you anytime, as I said, without causing distraction, without endangering the lives of any member or themselves.
Great.
Yesterday we received the list about the cabinet, people proposed to be sitting in the new cabinet. Actually, we had to ask the speaker to repeat Because when the president stood up sometimes last week, he read a list, and then when the list that came to parliament was a bit different from what we had heard. So everybody got confused, and he tried to ask the speaker, can you repeat, what are you saying? Because initially when we heard was Honorable Duale was to retain his position as Minister for Defense, and Soipan was to continue with her docket in environment. So when it changed, it got everybody a surprise. But as the speaker said, it's only a fool who doesn't change his mind. You can keep your mind, you can change your mind as many times as possible until you are tired. On the issue of Rebecca Miano not appearing on the list, again, that's a mystery. I don't speak for the executive. I don't speak for the speaker. We will wait to see any formal or official communication indicating to us exactly what happened. But as a house, we are ready to vet, and as we vet them, we'll listen to the voices of the people of Kenya.
You will also vet members of ODM brought to you?
Yes, if such a thing ever exists. You know, sometimes there are so many narratives. Okay. But if such a thing exists...
I'll have to interrogate that. Yes. Because ODM and Azimio is blowing both hot and cold at the same time. You are confusing Kenyans.
No, there's really no point of confusion. Azimio and ODM have got very clear structures of communication. They've got very clear structures of engagement at any given level.
Yes.
Well, personal opinions cannot become party positions. The only person who can override any other position is Baba. And since Baba has not said anything, the official party position, as pronounced by the Secretary General and as read during the joint party organ meeting of last week on Wednesday, obtains. Any other stories, those are just stories by individual members. You cannot stop. These are the people who are allowed to speak. There's a freedom of expression. You cannot stop anybody from talking.
Okay, I'm reading so much into that. All right, okay, so Day of Defiance, Daktari, welcome. Take us through the front page of the Daily Nation. Yes.
I'm giving my opinion, or I'm giving the opinion about the Day of Defiance.
What do you make of this?
Yesterday.
Yes.
Yeah, well, what I like to say, I'm a bit in limbo in the sense that when I go by the correct definition of a protest, I wouldn't say I'm for or against. I'm for getting something a bit more clear, because clearly when you want to protest, you are against something. You're against an opinion, and you want to be heard. And then I was in support of these protests by the Gen Z. Personally, my two sons are Gen Z, so I understand them very well. And, you know, these kids are not... you know, they're young people. They can't do everything on their own. They need some kind of guidance in terms of, not that they don't know what they're doing, in terms of how can you maximize the opportunity for you to also gain in the mix, so that you do not lose in the mix. Like, what is the intent? I believe, I really supported the first Tuesday when, who was talking of the iPhones and the Uber things, and the KFC part. That is the part I was in the mix.
Yes. Was this
because these children were saying, reject. You know, the whole world was just the religious leaders. So many people came on board, their parents. It made so much sense. And then these kids, they not destroy anybody's property. Yeah. And now when I see what is changing and what is unfolding into other people infiltrating into it and still maintaining that they are our children. Our children are no thugs. Our children are no thieves. Our children do not have an energy to break into somebody's shop and pack things. Our children will not walk to the other people's shops with sacks and carry their things, because those are some of the things that were displayed during the protests. So what I would say right now, what is happening, we have a bunch of opportunists who are just infiltrating into a noble idea that is really going to erode the initial noble idea of the Gen Z. Because clearly, you know, you can't fight for everything. You'll not want this, you'll want so many things at the same time. You end up losing. And then I'm like, Okay, we have a right as citizens of this country.
Right.
We have a right to picketing, but as long as it is peaceful. Though you cannot, every market has its mad person. Kila soko iko na wazimu yake. But what is happening currently, I have a bit of mixed feelings about it, because what part of getting into burning a building, Sunbeam, yes. So many, there are those business people who have lost a lot of their business. What part of reject the bill is going to refund these business people their properties? Children have lost their lives. They could be innocently trying to protest, but people have been infiltrated into this and taking advantage to get at certain political enemies, to get at, business-wise, why are you burning a building? Yeah. You're saying reject the bill. Is it going to be rejected in Sunbeam? Is it going to be rejected over somebody's kid's life who is 7 to 11 years? Because if we do not have all this, so we are not going to have our children dead, we are not going to have a stagnated economy, because trust you me, a whole day without doing business because of protests, it is now you are destroying your intent. I believe any type of protest should be structured and they should have intent. Great. We have a Gen Z here among us. Right. I simply want to understand.
On set?
She is a Gen Z.
She looks like.
Her body size is a Gen Z.
I reserve my comment.
She's a millennial.
Oh, she looks quite young.
Ask me. She's not a Gen Z. I will answer you.
Oh, okay. I'm sure. I know you know more, because what my worry is.
Yes.
They are going to confuse. They are going to confuse, like, what is it that we wanted? Reject the finance bill. It was rejected. And then restructure these people you have given the ministerial positions. Looks like it was a reward from their frustration from failing. Most of them were vying for governor seats, various political seats. So they did not come up as technocrats that was supposed to give the impression of people who have a clear know-how. I wouldn't say that they have a know-how, but of different fields. They were not
just
matching.
Hold on that thought, because that's what you've been discussing. Just hold on to that. All right?
Okay.
So, Gen Z?
Okay.
I'll pass from from Mwalimu Sosion. Mwalimu Sosion, Gen Z were students during your time. Are you happy about it?
Yeah, indeed.
No, hold. You're happy about it?
I'm happy about Gen Zs. No doubt about it, because if really we talk about the Gen Zs, these are the products of the free education of Mwai Kibaki. Yes. What it means is that all the children accessed education without limitation and transited to higher levels, tertiary institutions and universities. And remember, the free education was an agreement, solid agreement, between teachers of Kenya and Mwai Kibaki at that time. So to me, I'm happy to have been part of negotiating that noble policy, and that then I have lived to see the Gen Zs come of age. And over time, I can say as a teacher and having presided over the affairs of teachers, they witnessed how we struggle and how yours truly. Of course, I was a professor of, I can say I'm a self-styled professor of organizing and demonstration and social justice. I did it, no doubt about it. They witnessed that. And these are children who have grown during a period of serious democratic transformation in this country, moved from the old constitutional dispensation to the new dispensation. Yeah. And when they came out, their message was very simple. One, can we end corruption? Let's deal with this corruption. We don't negotiate about how to bring it down, but remove it completely. Can we have good governance in this country? That's where we are talking about who are these cabinet? Can you dissolve the cabinet, which the president responded to very, very well? Can we have a working economy that does not punish us as citizens? Those are key three messages that they came out with. And I think the Gen Zs were very genuine, talking about a prosperous economy that gives them jobs. And their message was clear. And the president received it very well, because the president, one, he believes in young leaders. He believes in mentoring young people. And I think he was touched by the message of the Gen Zs, and he has received it very well. And that is why I think the Gen Zs is the best happening for this country. My big trouble is when the lazy characters who are building syndicates and trying to hijack the process and criminalize the process and bringing that dirty agenda of looting and destruction comes in. There must be a clear distinction. And let me tell you this, because I've led protests. Protests must have an objective that is well defined. It is time-bound. Deliver the message. That message must be received. It must give you results. But when you talk of every week, you must engage in circles of destruction and destroying property. That goes against
that's not the Gen Z.
Or the act.
We all agree that that's not Gen Z.
Those are not Gen Z.
What we saw yesterday,
what we are now seeing are no longer Gen Zs.
Those were not Gen Zs.
The Gen Zs came,
yes.
They gave their message. It is right in the hands of government. It's in the hands of the president. And what we are seeing is these are not Gen Zs. These are just but opportunists.
Then why is the government not dealing?
Agenda is not known.
Allow me. Why is the government not dealing with the goons then? The Gen Zs came. They gave their proposal. Their ideas. The president listened to them. What you saw yesterday in the streets of the CBD, those are not Gen Zs on motorbikes.
As a government that is born out of democratic process.
No. And
as
when
a government that is born, as a government that is born out of democratic process.
And when Gen Zs demonstrated, they were shot. Nobody was shot. Nobody was shot yesterday.
That is born out of democratic processes.
Okay.
The government has been very patient to see how this unfolds. But I think the president the other day was very firm and has remained firm that this violence must stop. You can't come out, destroy property, threaten people's lives, and you claim you're faceless and you're pumping monies, but there are sponsoring these second syndicate, which are not Gen Zs, and I think the president is getting firm and firm day by day.
Let me get it from Agnes. Agnes, you are labeled as Gen Z.
Yes, I was labeled as a Gen Z, but I'm actually a millennial, a young millennial.
Okay, a clarification. Go ahead.
Yes. Regarding yesterday and perhaps maybe what has been happening in the past couple of weeks, I am very happy with where we've gotten as a country. I am happy that young people are finally putting their feet down and saying we're going to participate in matters governance in this country. We're going to be part of this conversation. We're going to have a seat on that table, and we're going to be listened to. I remember, I always bring this up that, beginning sometime 2020, I started a drive, to get young people to be registered as voters, to be engaged in politics, to participate in political parties and be members of political parties, and even try and run for the general election of 2022. And a lot of them, because of the handshake, were very apathetic to politics, and they're like, wazee watashinda tu hapa, hakuna kitu tutapata out of this. They're the ones who get to gain from this. And from that, from those kinds of conversation, I would implore them, you have to participate. This country belongs to you as much as it belongs to the characters who shook hands and decided, now we can have peace. You're as much a member of this country, you're as much a citizen with a say and a stake as everyone else. So seeing that coming out clearly, and especially when suddenly young people are going through so much in terms of cost of living, health services are not working as properly as they should, you have education and the issue of health, things that actually directly affect them. A lot of us are actually getting into the family where young families are coming up. So your interactions and engagements with government and public services becomes a bit more intense than before. So when last year we had the finance bill come out, there were protests, but then the government was able to quell the protest and even sort of have a conversation with the opposition in what they used to call NADCO, the National Dialogue Committee. And supposedly, maybe the government thought, if we're able to bring the opposition, have a conversation, everything else will be able to settle down. But then come this year, the finance bill is surfaced and presented, and young Kenyans especially decided, whoa, we're looking at, these tax measures and every other measure that is coming up. It does not work. It's not going to work for us. And this is just going to plunge us into poverty. And when a lot of them decided to have a conversation with their legislators and representatives in parliament, the response was not very good, and especially for the ones who are...
Let's take a break.
Okay.
Let's take a break. And we come back. That was just but a build-up of to what we are expecting to discuss immediately after this. I want to talk about embracing change. Since 1963, what has the emergence of Gen Z done or redefined our leadership system right now? Are we embracing that change in leadership? And that is what I want us to take a look in the next 1 hour to come. Stay with us. More to come. Welcome back. And if you just joined us, you've not missed so much. So, how are we embracing change amidst all these things that we are seeing in the country right now? The emergence of Gen Z, this was completely unprecedented. You'll all agree with me that this was not expected. Mheshimiwa did not expect his lunch to be interrupted that particular afternoon. Not at all. But let me start with you, Mheshimiwa. Now that you are a representative, you're a legislator, and their point of contact and their point of arrival, first of all, was the Parliament. So how do you embrace change directly?
The wind of change has been blowing in this country for very many, many years.
Right.
Unfortunately, we have never gone the long way and completed the process of change. Somehow we find some form of accommodation and stifle the change that we have always wanted. When we wanted the multi-party, we got it. But we never went all the way to change the governance structure. We never went all the way to change our politics. We never went all the way to make Kenya be Kenya and not be Kenya looked at on a tribal prism. So it went underground. We came to change to the new constitution, 2010. All of us agreed 80% was good, 20% was bad. An attempt all along has been made through BBI to clearly redefine the state, redefine the country, so that we accommodate the aspiration of everyone. Again, there were breaks in between. We have gone through elections. Elections basically based on euphoria, rhetoric, and probably promises that are not capable of being fulfilled. Unfortunately, our people become culpable, and they carry along with it. We went to an election where we pitted one social class with another, the hustlers and the dynasty. So again, the so-called hustlers believed it's time to kick out the dynasty. Unfortunately, again, after the election, whom do you see sitting at the table? At the dynasty. Whom do you see sitting at the table? Are political rejects who are being rewarded for being bootlickers and being people who sing, who praise worshippers.
Take that word, Mheshimiwa.
If I may let me withdraw the word bootlicker, but let me say those who probably are just worship
They are
and praise.
vulnerable.
Mheshimiwa, you are out of order. Apologize and take back the word.
Yes, I apologize.
I'm the speaker. I'm the speaker now.
Yes, I
Order.
apologize. The word
Order.
bootlickers,
Okay.
I have withdrawn. So now you find a group that was made to believe it's their time to eat. It's their time to sit on the table. Hii serikali tutaunda na mama mboga. Hii serikali tutakaa na mahasolas. Ndio watakuwa nakaa hapa. Tukimaliza tu ni kuweka Biblia tu chini. Kila mhasala atapata pesa. Kutakuwa na utapiga simu bila kutaka airtime. See that kind of rhetoric. You already excited the masses. 2 years down the line, nothing. So what do they want them to do? When they ask you, all they see your acolytes carrying money in sacks. 20 million, 30 million, 2 million in a harambe. One harambe. They see your acolytes putting on watches of point something million. They see you the shoes you are putting on when they Google is 450, 600, those kind of things. And they have slept hungry, they have no jobs, they have no hope for the future. So, this is an anger that has been boiling. ODM and Azimio brought this matter to the fore during our cost of living protests last year and after the 2022 elections. We were butchered, we were cornered, we were taken for a ride, told come sit at NADCO. NADCO never addressed the cost of living. NADCO addressed peripheral issues. Who gets what positions, entrenching the prime cabinet secretaries, in the constitution, a leader of official position, things that have got no relevance to the people of Kenya. So obviously this anger has been boiling up. And I want to dissuade whoever is in charge at the moment. You should not look at this anger from a political point of view. It's not about politics. It's not about politics of competition. It is about resetting this society so that every single person can be heard. It's about resetting this society that you as an elected leader, you are not elected to represent the president. You are not elected to represent your party leader. You are elected to represent the people who elected you. When they tell you, we don't want this finance bill, whether you agree with them or not, but in a democracy, the majority have their way, the minority have their say.
Thank you. Doctor, let me just come back to you as well. I'll come back to you, Mheshimiwa. You've broken the ice for us very well. Thank you for that. But, Dr. when you look at even our history, you know, the pre-colonial times, you know, the white settlers came, our colonizers came, they gave us a country, you know, we did whatever we did, and they're out of our way right now. But are we getting it right way back pre-colonial, during colonial time, and now we are in 2024?
Sometimes we are on the way getting it, and then I don't know what happens, like Mheshimiwa says, there's just something wrong in this country, like my people. You know, there's that thing, my people. No job is just being given to anyone. No contract is just being given to anyone.
Yes.
No, nothing is being given to somebody without a face, without a name. And then how many of us can be known people? How many of us can have a face in this country? Now that is and then what is happening currently as of that time up to this time?
Yes.
Because of our what can I say? Our democracy or our constitution. That after 10 years you need to go to another election. After 5 years you need to go to an election. Yeah, just something so poignant should change. But I'm thinking, even if a system changes and our minds are still polluted and
there'll be no
corrupted,
change. You're right.
I think we are not. It has to go with mindset, and we do not pay too much attention to, like, attitudes we carry. Like politics is a dirty game, and then, you know, like right now, maybe from next year, campaigns will have started again silently. You know. Like now, these Gen Zs, they rejected like things like you show off. You know, like when you get into parliament, we have had this perception that it is time for you to eat. It's that perception needs to be dealt with, and then especially the young parliamentarians. Mwesh will pass this message for us in case they're not watching this program. They have this socialite attitude. Why are you trying to mask? Why are you behaving like you've not seen a car before? And then you see these Gen Zs, they believe, for me to be rich, to look like I have everything. I'm not saying all of them, but they have created an impression to these children that you don't need to do too much. You just need to be a known figure. You just need to be a member of parliament. You just need this, you just need that. You know, this is even also in the course of it all, especially, I do not want to be very exact about the nomination seats that mostly come to women. We associate it with a lot of frustration, gender-based violence. According to me, you'll violate me socially. You can violate me physically, mentally. Are you seeing? There's so much that is surrounding that. So there needs to be a change of perception. Look at, for example, the education system, where Honorable Session has been very vocal in that area. Look at how they were diluting. You see, like the LSK, it's a very solid institution. Look at KMPDU, it has a very solid institution. Ask me why. Why the teachers?
Why not?
Why do teachers want to split?
No, talk of media council as well.
Yeah, you're very okay. As in, you speak one thing, that's it. Bad politics wants to split them, divide and rule. You know, when people are together like MPDU, you just can't bring your shenanigans into their institution. You're not going to do that to the media council. You're not going to do that to LSK. You're not going to do that. And you see, you look at the teachers, they do not see this, that it's a divide and rule, because if they are going to remain as that only, they are going to be a force and they can disable. You know, they can have their issues addressed. You see, right now, it is kind of divided. They don't know even these teachers of JSS, because the teachers of JSS were meant to come on board and make to be a bit seamless, to be a bit smooth. Are you seeing? But it was so hushed up. if they had only one union, if they maintained with one union, these children, somebody could have listened to them in terms of, why are you employing teachers who are needed in this country on contract? That's point number one. These children have done their degrees. Okay, fine. It just says the system was changing. I don't know what is high school. I don't know what it's now starting from. I don't know what grade 6, 7. Me, I'm an 844. Sometimes I feel like I understand CBC. Sometimes I don't. No, I want to understand. And then they say, okay, fine. Junior, secondary, whatever thing that is happening. Why are you giving such a child? Why are you giving such a child 17,000?
Okay.
And this is a degree holder. First, you have brought him down or her down to the level whereby he knew. I'm not saying the ones who teach in primary are bad people. No, but there's a level of qualification that qualifies you to work in a certain place.
When you talk about that in JSS and NAT, you'll not do justice to that topic better than Sosion.
Yeah, he will. I'm just giving my opinion. I'm sure he can allow me and he will wait. I know his ideas are so pregnant for this thing. Eh? Me, I'm just giving as an observation because I'm not a teacher.
Right.
Now, what I'm saying this, why would you put such a child on first without explaining because of the joblessness of this country? Yani this wanangangana wafike pale, and then they are being mistreated. Who's gonna listen to them?
Who's gonna listen to them?
There's nobody who's gonna listen.
Pass it over to Sosion, kindly. All right.
I think when you talk about reforms, you will need a whole lot of time, long period of time to discuss it, because it's a complex phenomenon that has affected our country, and we don't exist in isolation. We also exist in relation to other countries. But if I can have just a brief run through of what happens right from independence.
Yes.
We had a clamor for independence as a continent, not only as Kenya, and we emerged into an era of independence with a completely different culture of leadership. And of course, excitement of being independent. And we really did not get democratic leadership right after independence across the continent. We slipped into some form of dictatorship. We did not promote good governance. The independent government did not promote, did not incubate, and did not protect good governance. And then you saw right across coups and other things. And then we lived in that undemocratic environment, which, and we had some form of neo-colonialism within ourselves. And Kenya was not an exception. We were affected, and we were affected economically. But then around the 90s, that is when we had the clamor for new democratic governance, the second liberation. It was not only in Kenya, it was everywhere. And social institutions participated very strongly in the clamor for good governance and for a fulfilling economy. But fast forward up to where we are. Many countries have made different strides, but I think Kenya is one of the outstanding countries that has done well in achieving reasonable democratic governance. And that is why when you look at public participation, even in terms of finance bill, in terms of budgets, it is so intense here in Kenya. But you move to other jurisdictions, citizens don't question. They wait for the Minister of Finance to read, and that is it. So when we talk of reforms, where we are, Kenya is now at an off-take stage to leap into a middle-income country and even struggle to get to the first-income country. And that brings me to what the chances are raising. We put very many structures in place. The problem we have in Kenya is that we don't allow reforms and changes to mature.
Precisely.
We don't allow. We start and we destroy. We have a new constitution, but within a short time,
we need to change and
undermine it. We've not allowed the constitution to be fully implemented. In fact, I don't buy the narrative that the constitution was 80% good, 20% bad. We have a constitution. It is in place. Can we make it work? Why are we so quick? We want to change it so fast. What does Kenya need? The Gen Zs have come up with 3 things. And for me, I share a cup of tea with them in totality. Number one, corruption. And corruption is the biggest cancer that has destroyed this country. We have institutionalized. We have not even allowed ethics and anti-corruption to work effectively. We have not allowed the judicial systems have not come out very strongly to punish corruption. If you look at the Asian countries, you talk of Singapore, we talk of Malaysia and the rest, corruption is punished through death. You are involved, and such cases, they don't take long. If you are presented in court in the morning, within 24 hours, you have been convicted and hanged, and life moves on. I visited Malaysia in 2007, and I had detailed concern about what happens. Nobody works in the public service with a mind of stealing or with a mind of manipulating governance. And people work religiously. And if you look at Malaysia, they work within framework of strategic plan. A strategic plan of 5 years that is reviewed midway. And midway with intention of making sure that it succeeds. And every ministry has a strategic plan. And in 2007, they were doing what we call the 9th Malaysian plan. And do you know what? Malaysia came to benchmark here in Kenya. These are simple things that we need to do. But here in Kenya, we say, no, we want to reduce corruption. So are we saying we are tolerating, we want to live with corruption so that then we try to reduce, and by reducing, we are saying anybody can be corrupt. And that is one item.
Victor,
Number two,
just want to correct.
Number two, before you even correct,
I just want to put,
allow me to complete.
Fine. I just want to put the issue about the constitutional
Give him
reforms.
1 minute, volume.
Just want to put the issue of constitutional reforms. As the law stands now, you are innocent until proven guilty.
Right.
So even if you are found to have stolen public funds, until the court convicts you, nothing stops you from being appointed a cabinet secretary. Nothing stops you being elected as a member of parliament. Nothing stops you being appointed as a permanent secretary. You can see now those contradictions. You see, there is what we call the element of suspicion. The presumption that you have been found, you have acted inappropriately. You see, the courts made it very clear in the cases when the Ocampo 6 or the Ocampo what, when they said before they're convicted, they're innocent. So that's the lacuna in the law, that's the lacuna in the Constitution that we must address. With Chapter 6 is just a flower girl. It does not work.
Agreed, agreed.
Yes.
The Constitution has what we call the spirit. Yeah, it has the spirit. It gives you the spirit. But then, do we take the resolve? We have receded back to lazy thinking and lazy working.
But you know, again,
if we decide that
we might use the Constitution. I agree with
if we decide,
I agree with you.
If we decide, allow me, if we decide that we must severely punish corruption and we let the criminal justice systems work effectively, it can be delivered. But you see, we are undermining. All these systems are manipulated not to work.
Okay.
And that is a problem. So that's corruption. Number two, an item that must be dealt with is governance. And the president has said very clearly, the problem with Kenya is one, corruption, and incompetence in leadership of public institutions. We must promote good, strong governance of all our institutions. And then probably number three, which is a big item that we are discussing. Can we have an economy that works and that gives everybody prosperity and that gives
the economy will not work until Victor, as he clearly says, the three arms of government are independent and can operate without state house capture. Why would you call a member of parliament
or state house?
A state house capture? Forget the state capture. Now we are talking about state house capture. Why would you, a elected member of parliament, be called and told you must pass this bill without even changing a comma, not even a full stop? not even doing grammatical editing. And you clearly follow sleepishly like a sheep being taken to slaughter, and you clearly come and say it must pass because the DON has said it must pass. HE has said it must pass.
Okay.
And then when it passes and the Gen Z raids you, he throws you under the bus, and then he's left to the devices of the Wananchi to come and greet
I want
you.
to ask Wakili here, the issue of political leadership and accountability is one of the things that Gen Z raised.
Before you ask,
okay.
I would like...
and this one goes to all of you.
Before you ask the question you're trying to ask.
Yes.
So maybe I'd like to ask Mheshimiwa, because he's the current sitting member of parliament. I feel like our constitution of 2010, it is on the expiry without it being implemented fully. According to Muhesh, is it implemented fully?
No, it's not.
Like, you know, there are things that are watered down. Like what I'm saying, like the member, like in the National Assembly, it lacks a female touch. That is why the decisions that are made from there end up irritating our children. It doesn't have a female touch. The 1/3, 2/3 gender rule. It's because we have very, very few women in a parliament who will stand up, other than Millie and a few, 2, 3 others. There's nobody who stands and speaks on behalf of the women. And trust you me, Victor, these people, even the president does not understand these children. We are the mothers of these children. It is us who knows. You know, even the way we operate with them in our families, we don't tell them very many things because we know how they react emotionally.
Yes.
But now the parliament has refused to implement that, and nobody is talking about it because the person who's going to benefit, it's a woman. So the minute a parliament is going to have a female touch, these issues of governance will be put into rest, and then we will have contributions that resonate.
You're accusing the National Assembly
No,
of being
we will have contributions that resonate to the needs of our children. We are not going to have this type of issues that are there.
Parliament is a house of absolute rights.
Victor,
No,
it's an open field.
But there's a way.
Let me just put it very clear.
I want to bring Agnes here to.
47.
I want to bring
Not
Agnes.
carefully will
Parliament has 47 women.
Agnes, if they are not allowing you, check over.
Parliament has
I'd like to
47
disagree
women.
with my sister here
Okay,
on the issue of
Mheshimiwa,
female touch.
just kindly.
I'd like to disagree with my sister here on the issue of female touch. We do have a good number of parliamentarians who are women, number one. Maybe we've not achieved the 1/3 or 2/3 gender rule, but some of our lady legislators have let us down, and this is potentially the worst cycle of female legislators we've had since independence. Take, for instance, the provision of sanitary towels bill. I don't know if you've gone through that particular bill. And in this bill, the essence of that bill is basically creation of a committee, an interministerial committee, so that people can come get appointments, decide, okay, how are we going to, how are we going to regulate, how are we going to see how sanitary towels are going to get to like young kids or other people in the country, but not necessarily the structures of ensuring menstrual health products get to every Kenyan woman. Yet it's a constitutional right. Reproductive health and access to the best possible health care is a constitutional right. It talks of being a money bill. They want to be able to lend and borrow. What business does a committee on provision of sanitary towels have in borrowing and lending money? It does not make sense. On top of that, this is a bill that has been thrown to the the Minister for Gender. As it is, we don't even have a sitting Minister for Gender. But if you ask me, having gone through that bill and, as somebody who takes matters reproductive health in this country seriously, this should be considered a health issue. It should have been under the Ministry of Health. There is already a menstrual, I think it's called the menstrual something policy that is ran by the Ministry of Health. Why not just have that policy and that department bolstered to ensure that the same channels they use to supply vaccines across the country, they use to deal with matters obstetrics in this country, that is matters labor, giving birth, whatnot. Why not use the same systems to supply menstrual health products to all Kenyan girls and women?
So that's a matter of priority.
That is a matter of priority.
Okay.
Well, I always, there's a part of disagreed with me.
Yeah.
And I was really trying to listen to it. What I meant about a female touch, it's because it has not implemented the 1/3, 2/3 gender role. When I say a female touch, so I've not understood the part of your disagreement, because immediately you rushed into the sanitary stuff. Okay, it's a good idea you have, but what part of my statement did you disagree with?
the merits of our current female legislators as it is, because
I'm
the
not
other
talking of
thing,
merit. I talked of representation, like the
I do not disagree with that.
rule.
I do not disagree with that. In fact, I said that
That
notwithstanding.
was my point of argument.
Okay.
Okay.
That notwithstanding.
I can moderate the two.
No,
Because the other issue.
as you do that, I'll also ask this question to all of you. So it means that the issue of leadership in our country has restricted accountability.
Yes.
Which again, if you look at it wholesomely, Melimo, has infiltrated impunity into the public and private sector.
True.
That's
Correct.
why a majority of people are not getting the service they need. Gen Zs are now on the street because they feel impunity has completely permeated into the public sector.
Yes, that's why, Victor.
Go ahead.
Of course, what she's raising is genuine, extremely genuine, and Mheshimiwa here will agree. We did not give ourselves a constitution for window dressing. It was meant to be implemented. And matters of affirmative action all over the world are time-bound. They are not there forever. The 2/3 gender rules cannot be in the National Assembly forever. It should have been implemented immediately, achieve the 2/3, and maybe by 2030, we retire that provision in the Constitution, because then by that time, the gender equity shall have been achieved. It is one of the big key goals of the SDG framework, so that then by 2030, we have all these ladies properly capacitated and are able to do things and behave like Kamala Harris. Look at the US. Within a short time,
she could be a president.
Kamala is going to be. She said Kamala is a Luya, so Kenya we are leading.
She's a Bukusu.
Kamala Harris was endorsed, I think, on Saturday by Joe Biden, and by today,
The graph
she's
is
rating. She's the
44
topmost.
against
45
You see,
with confidence.
on the same
and
breath,
she is connecting with the Americans. So we made a constitution, but we keep undermining certain clauses, and this boils down to leadership and governance.
And
What is it
accountability, that is
fear?
my point.
And accountability.
Okay, well,
so
do me a
really,
favor. Do me a favor.
What Kenya has been rated as a country because we work globally.
Do me a
we make
favor.
the best laws, we make the best constitution, but we don't implement. We don't implement.
Okay.
No, you implement when it works
that is
for
the
you.
problem.
No,
that
You
is-
know,
I want to break the rule.
wholesomely.
I want to break the rule. Mheshimiwa, where's your camera? This one here. Just say, let's take a break and we come back. Look at the camera. Take a break for me.
Thank you.
No, say to the
Oh,
camera.
I say something.
Yes.
Take a break.
All right, let's take a break. We'll be right back. And welcome back. All right, so who do I start with?
Let's start here.
Can start.
before you start,
Gen Z was
on the
started.
gender balancing button,
Yes.
and then they come up in efforts. You know, they don't know how to bring a woman into leadership, and most of, you know, in the world, there's the aspect of patriarchal kind of way of leadership, and then they decide at one point they introduced the woman rep seat. When they introduced the woman rep seat, you know, it is still amorphous. It does not firmly confirm that it's a woman who's supposed to be a woman rep. But now, you see now like Kisii County, where I come from, so you realize when I want a member of parliament, when I want to be an MCA, when I want to be something else that is not a woman rep. So it creates an attitude of simukona kiti yenu. You see, and then it's bringing a problem. And then they brought up the woman rep seat. A woman rep goes all to now, like us in Kisii County, we have 9 constituencies. A member of parliament of one constituency has a bigger kitty than a woman rep. So managing the finances in that kitty over the vast, the number of constituencies and vis-a-vis the expectations of the people. And then I was like, this woman rep seat just destroys a woman.
Right.
It is not empowering us. And then now, who will speak this on our behalf? Who is going to talk about this on our behalf, because we are not in parliament?
Let me make a
and we are
clarification.
suffering.
All right.
One, the MPs do not control any kitty. MPs' roles are clearly defined in Article 95. They do not control any kitty other than the process of appropriation and budgeting that we do in the National Assembly. Neither do the women rep also control any kitty. They simply oversight the implementation of NGAF a single constituency MPs only oversight the implementation of CDF and any other funds that have to come to the ground to do various projects with the National Assembly. So any particular woman rep, who is any particular woman politician, who is outside there, believing that when she comes to parliament, when she is elected in parliament, she will control a kitty, is again to defeat this mindset.
Let's come back to
I disagree with the Mahesh because oversight, it means you do not have power in directioning on the usage, on the expenditure of the money. That's what it means.
Yes,
but they are the bosses. The members of parliament are the bosses of CDF.
Let's do this.
They are not.
Let's do this.
They are not.
We'll create another time so that we can discuss the roles and job descriptions of different elected leaders' positions. But let's come back to discussion here. I was talking about the issue of leadership restricting accountability. The reason why Gen Zs went to the street, and Dr. Mwalimu Sosion outlined 3 issues that the Gen Zs were trying to raise. So it boils down to that accountability. Let me start with you, Wakili. How and where do we get it wrong as a nation? Since, and you've all put it correctly, that the issue, we start things but we leave them half-baked. At the end of the day, it erupts up to where we are today. So how do we entrench our accountability processes in our governance system?
Let me begin by saying that we do have one of the best constitutions in the world.
I agree that.
Yes, we have a constitution that is we have a constitution that is institution-based, and it's really desired to ensure that we established and empowered or bolstered the powers of institutions in such a way that impunity and high-handedness or mischief can be cured or addressed. So one of the ways that we can look into that, let me just, first of all, pick up from where I was speaking earlier on issues of public participations and Gen Zs. You saw the response that legislators gave, a lot of the legislators who now would proceed to vote yes. It was impunity, they were like, we have to do this because State House has asked, or the executive has given directives that this bill has to pass, number one. Number two, you are not going to tell us what to do. Hautanifunza kazi. Yet these voters, these Gen Zs, are the ones who put you there in the first place. That is impunity. Not taking public participation seriously is not only impunious, number one, but 2, is a serious offense on democracy. And now you can see the fruits of that. So when you talk about accountability in this country, how do we entrench it in our governance systems? First of all, we have to look at ourselves inwardly, even before we look at leaders and institutions. Are we holding ourselves to account? Do we have a culture that holds each one of us to account? The way we behave out here, normally, are we accountable? When you, for instance, you're going to, you're in a matatu, you're supposed to pay your fare, and maybe makanga sahau. Do you remind yourself, I need to pay this guy before I leave? Trinkets, those small things that we overlook, they translate into how now we look at the bigger picture. Now, when you talk about our leaders and the system, one thing came out clearly to me in the past couple of weeks. TikTok, an application that has normally been used for entertainment purposes by creators, by Kenyans generally, and probably is the second most consumed application in this country, is now awash with civic education. Young people are teaching one another. This is what the Constitution says. When this happens, this is what you're supposed to do. We now have something called the Anti-Corruption Commission. Do you know what the Anti-Corruption Commission does? We have the ODPP. Do you know what the ODPP does? These are the powers given to this institution. These are the powers given to this institution. This is how you hold this person accountable. They now have something they're calling the recall.ke. They want to recall their leaders. But it's just that...
Are you on the chopping board?
No, I'm not. I'm always on the side of the people.
Are you on the chopping board?
I am not.
You're not on the chopping board?
I'm not.
Yes,
I want to
it's just
agree
that,
with this.
let me finish.
Okay,
It's
just
just that
1 minute, kindly. Yes.
the IBC has not been reconstituted, the commission has not been reconstituted properly, and that is probably the reason why Gen Zs are still holding off. But I assure you, the moment the selection panel is put in place and they are able to shortlist and the president appoints commissioners, legislators are going. That's for sure. A lot of legislators will be on the chopping board and will end up going. So ultimately what I'm trying to say here is not just young people, Kenyans need to be very vigilant. You need to understand. And we have a constitutional provision on access to information. And I think that is where we sleep as a people. any government entity has a website, and if you go and log into that website, you will find all the details from mandate, strategic plan, act of parliament that establishes that particular entity. You'll find everything there. It's up to you to look, read, find out, how do you hold this person accountable? How do you hold this institution accountable? Are they being transparent? Are they airing information as they should? Are they within timelines? Something else perhaps we should all think about now is how to structure public participation properly, because we've not done it properly.
So are we embracing change?
We are embracing change.
Thank you.
We are embracing change, yes.
Mheshimiwa, even as you respond to that, sometimes somebody can argue that people who are in leadership position, it doesn't matter whether you're a member of parliament, the civil society, the church, and even us as media, all of us are at different levels of leadership. Somebody would argue that we are unwilling to adapt to new change and dynamics of life, and perhaps, you know, to adapt to new institutional kind of mechanisms that is affecting and streamlining our governance system right now. That boils down to us as a people, that now the Gen Z are on the street, we are caught flat-footed.
Precisely. And this has been debate that has been with us for some time. And I wish and pray, see, there is always a cost to democracy. There is no gain without pain. That's for sure. And I would wish these current protestations, these current anti-agitations should not be killed until we achieve the ultimate goal of accountability and good governance. That is my prayer. Yes, we have lost property. That's given. But in any revolution, any change, there are always those who lose and there are those who gain. Collectively, we must appreciate that change must come. Now, I want to tell you, sometimes back, CS Dr. Matiang'i said that if we are not careful, the National Assembly, Parliament generality, is going to be captured with the people with their questionable characters.
That was just months before election.
Yes, and he said wash. He said people who we are going to get captured, people who cannot have the ability to stand on their own and know their mandate. And indeed, Victor, I say this with no disrespect to my colleagues. I say this, and I've said it everywhere. I've said it on the floor of the House. The greatest challenge, whatever is bringing most of the problems could have solved in this country, is our national parliament. I sit in that National Assembly. We are the greatest letdown to the people of Kenya.
Yes.
Article 95 and all the articles concerning budget, accountability, everything are very clear. Article 95 says Parliament collectively legislates for the people of Kenya. It does not say Parliament legislates for President Ruto. Remember, sometimes back, Mutahi Ngunye, this political analyst,
yes,
coined the term tyrant of numbers. And tyrant of numbers has literally destroyed this country. And that's why I want these young people, be they millennial, be they Gen Z, to push this agenda for accountability to the very logical end. They must tell their members of parliament, it's us who elected you. It's not your president who elected you. It's not your party leader who elected you. Tell them to an extent that you do not have to be afraid to go against the dictates of your party, as long as you are representing our interests. That's where we start. And the electorates must as well. The common mwananchi, as you have said, as the young leader said, must ask themselves very hard questions. Am I a macrocosm of my leader? Do I see myself in that leader? If I don't see myself, my character does not match that leader, then in the next election, when I have got the next opportunity, can I elect somebody who espouses my values? Are we, you are a person who believes in straight things, yet you elect a crook. What is us to expect?
So, what do you want to say?
I think we must approach this matter differently. If we approach this matter from the angle of lamentation, and personalizing, we lose argument, we lose a plot. We want total transformation and strengthening of institutions. So that then, can we do some SWOT analysis and identify gaps of which institution? But you see, when you elect a route and you personalize arguments, you don't make it right. I think it's also good. We agree about the traditions of parliament. There is a majority party and there is a minority party. And there are always government-sponsored bills. The bills of government are tabled by the leader of majority. And members of parliament at some point told the party position. And he knows, he was my neighbor in parliament. So really, we must also find ways, when there are contentious issues in parliament, how do you approach it as parliament, as part tradition? There are always kamugunjis. Do you always look for time out so that you can apply your minds independent? You don't. I think you are all victims of your political parties. But let me come back to what senior counsel here was talking about. Our constitution is designed in a way that it strengthens institutions, all institutions. Let's not pick parliament only. Let's look at, she was talking about the labor unions and all of them. And we can agree right across board, there is a general cancer of undermining institutions so that they don't work. If we are to discuss what is happening in the education sector, angels would even weep with what is going on. I have been in that space for long, but it's all about cartels. We are in governance where cartels run the show. You get it? Cartels run the show. So it is
State House capture.
No, don't say State House capture. Those cartels are owned by you, by everybody. And let's agree. We are threatened by the presence of cartels all over. And I think this is where the president, and let me take it to where the president was at pains. And he said, the problem with this country and institutions is corruption and incompetent leadership. Incompetent leadership incubates and promotes cartels. And the cartels pursue their objectives.
She's next to you.
Objectives of institutions. And I still insist.
She wants to interject. She wants to interject.
And it has been said,
Doctor, take it over.
Our economy,
Doctor, take it over. She wants to interject. I know what she wants to say.
Thank you. Before I even get to what he just said, I'd like to comment something. What Muhesh has just also commented about these children, the millennials, and the Gen Z should take over, should push for this, and then I'm like, these are our children. These are products of the Generation X. So when we let these children to go alone without a backup to the streets, they're gonna die. Who wants anybody's child dead? No. What is the position of Generation X, Muhesh? So if we are going to let our children go to the streets and they're going to be killed, and then and it's like we are hands off. Sisi tumeshindwa, wacha hawa watoto wafanye nini?
Is that what you meant, Mheshimiwa?
Is that what you meant?
Before
Victor,
that,
in any society, when there is war, we send the young people, the energetic. You're not going to send an octogenarian to
But panapo
But now, let me tell you this. These young people have got more avenues to communicate and mobilize than us, the older generation, probably has got a completely different thing. For us, we have taken to where it is. And I totally agreed with Doc in some extent. As they go, they need to keep on coming back to consult and tell us this is where the things are.
Yes.
But I do not want them to lose this fight.
Okay.
No,
I do not want them to allow the fight to be hijacked.
I disagree
by the political establishment.
Because now all guns are trained towards the Gen Z and the young ones.
I didn't even finish what I was saying.
I disagree with
you didn't finish.
Where there is,
I'll come back.
Now, where there is failed leadership and failed institutions, you will see emergent groups. All what we need to do is to strengthen the leadership in place and that of institutions. Mheshimiwa, you are currently elected. You cannot abdicate your responsibility to citizens who have no responsibility to exercise your mandate. All of us must rise to the occasion and respond to the needs of society.
Thank you.
If we want to change the society, can we commit our hearts and our lives and our minds without bias? You see, when I see Mheshimiwa arguing, he has got so much of political undertones, and if you remove those ones and we argue objectively, we'll be able to change. The last thing I want to say is that we have been told as a country, this is a country with great opportunity. It is a strategic communication hub globally. It has one of the best democracies. It has one of the most optimistic and resilient citizens.
Very good.
The most educated, and the economy is resilient. We only need to get it right.
Let's hear
in terms of governance.
Hear from her. Let's hear
Once
from
we
her.
get it in terms of governance,
yes,
corruption will go
Thank
out,
you.
cartels will disappear.
Wakili, as you respond to that as well, do we now agree collectively that we have realized our failure as a nation?
Yes, we have realized our failure as a nation. I must say, from my personal engagements, from the interactions I see on social media, on the media, in person, people, recalling themselves and contemplating, like, where did we go wrong? Why don't we ever look at merit when we are voting for leaders?
Yes.
The issue of tribalism, the issue of corruption, voter bribery during campaigns and whatnot. Those are issues that I now see, especially young people having that conversation. Anyway, I was just going to interject and say that what has been happening in the past couple of weeks has tremendously or even permanently changed the way we politic in this country. We're never going back to be the same again. That's number one. Number two, the youth are the vanguard of democracy anywhere in the world. There has never been any political shifts or changes anywhere that have demanded unrest, that have demanded people or the populace taking to the streets and demanding for change, that have not been led by the young people. So that's another thing. And what I'm hoping we all now realize as we move forward is that young people are very adamant in this country. And like my good senior was saying, if we're not going to deal with corruption as soon as possible, if we're not going to start having a conversation about good governance as soon as possible, if we do not make the economy work as soon as possible, I was also hoping that maybe my colleagues would talk about CDF being abolished. It is my hope that we can do away.
Hot potato?
Yes.
Hot potato? Hot potato?
I was just hoping that we can
In fact, CDF has worked better than devolved counties. In fact, CDF is far much better.
I agree.
So if we're not able to have conversation on some of these things, and especially good governance and corruption, then young people are going to make sure that, tutatawala pamoja.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. Sosion,
parallel.
we are finalizing this. We
I
are
was
running out
supposed to
of
talk
time.
initially before they all spoke.
I'll come back as you give you a round of closing remarks. I'll come back to you. All right. Sosion, now that as we are doing this, so as a country, how are we going to change the perception globally that Kenya is here now? Things have happened, but how are we going to change the perception as the closing remarks?
No, I want to state, I think we have a leader. All the time, the country has a president. The president must absorb the memoranda and the feelings of the people of Kenya. And I think in the space of all this, he has been very responsive. He has done quite a number of things. He has reflected on what the youth has put forward, and I don't think these demonstrations are necessary anymore. And he has talked of forming what we call a broad-based government.
Yes.
When you talk of broad-based, then it means you are bringing everybody on board to participate in building the country. We cannot run a country where exclusion is the norm of the day. And it behoves on the president to proceed and follow the path that he has chosen, that he has promoted, to mobilize all Kenyans to reason together. When the president said we need a comprehensive public engagement to discuss the economy, there are moments when you get back to the people and engage in detailed discussion. And I think the president means well, and therefore all of us as leaders, including Mheshimiwa here, and I know he has very obtuse reservations, I know. I think it is time we climb down. We climb down and sit around the altar of the country and commit and submit our hearts to this country and focus on matters to do with total elimination of corruption.
Thank you.
Matters to do with ensuring good governance.
I know what I'm doing. I know what I'm doing.
I understand that part, and I say thank you. Now, okay, what I wanted to say, okay, I think
as you comment on the issue of perception.
Yeah, the perception of this country, I think I did comment about it, because we want to change systems, but we are at a different level of our mindset. Our mindset is different. How our mindset operates, it's quite unique. It's something that has to be with an individual, like you have to be willing to change and think in a certain way, and then ways should be put in place that drive us towards changing the way we think. You know, the way you think is what creates perception. You look at me as a problem, somebody will look at me as a solution. So if we can work on perceptions and on a larger scale. Okay, what I wanted to comment about, what I wanted us to talk about, you know, there's so much about this country, and what is happening right now is as a result of historical injustices. Are you saying, to some level, that is the only part I am with President Ruto. That is the only part. That what is happening in this country is as a result of historical injustices. And what I'm saying is, and what I would advise our children, dubbed Gen Z, you just be systematic. I'm not saying like you want these, follow it. The institutions, you know, there are institutions that drive an economy.
Yes.
Ministry of Health. Those are the troubled ministries. Ministry of Health, Ministry of Education. These two drive an economy and public service, an economy of a country. If our president can pay attention into that, first, we need to understand, especially from the Ministry of Education.
I'm overrunning. Okay. Literally, I'm overrunning. 5 seconds.
Okay.
Kindly.
Like the Ministry of Education, we need to understand from the CEO, why is it that we are getting teachers of 2020, 2021, 22 being employed? And TSC, what is the database? TSC. What is the database of... we need to know who are these children of ours who has held a TSC number for more than 20 years. And you know, right now, you have not gotten a job for the last 20 years. Are you a Gen Z? Are you Generation X? Are you what? You know, there's a confusion, because the ones who are fighting a Gen Z were total 2020. There's somebody who's 40 years and has never worked.
Thank you. Thank you. Why are you so bitter? You're so bitter.
No, I'm so bitter because we have, you know, it's not who knows who.
Tumalizie.
Let's conclude.
Yes.
The momentum for change is with us. I just to urge all Kenyans, wherever you are, please do not drop your guard. You will be cheated with a few piecemeal statements here. You will be hoodwinked by a few promises here that the people who are promising you have no intentions at all of fulfilling. They just want to quell the urge for reforms. Do not drop your guard.
Thank you.
This is the momentum. Let's run with this momentum until, as Osiona said, competence is reflected in the appointments in the offices we hold. Fairness and equal distribution among all the Kenyans is achieved.
When you talk about appointments, ODM, do you want to get into the government?
As official, as a party, as I said from the start,
you are given, what does it, 5, 7?
As a party, we have no intentions of joining a government of national unity.
But you have done
as a party. If there are individual members who wants to go, let them go in their own individual capacity, but they will not drag ODM into the current
Thank you so much for joining us.
The stinking skunk.
Thank you for joining us. Wilberforce Oundo, Member of Parliament, Funyula constituency. Dr. Evelyn Ogendo, political analyst. Asante sana for joining us as well. Sosion, who is a teacher by profession, and I'm not going to say CAS. Sorry, I've just said it.
It was unconstitutional.
I've just said it. Asante sana for joining us, as well as not Gen Z. Wakili, thank you so much for joining us as well. All right. My name is Victor Lo. Have a good morning and thanks for watching. Bye-bye.